This is Sam Ryan Hidari from Hidari Law Group, and we are here another episodes of the Sex, Lies, and Lawyers. We have Allie Harding here. Is a motivational speaker, and we are going to interview and see what we are going to get out of this interview today. Really, welcome to the show,
Wonderful.
Allie.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, tell us about yourself. A little bit.
So I'm a motivational speaker. I was suicidal for 10 years. And then I attempted suicide one night when I was 17. Woke up the next day, found out that my brother had killed himself the same night. That's when I decided I was going to change my life and kind of change my mindset and just talk about it on social media. And then I grew a social media platform just talking about mental health, and now I do motivational speaking for a living.
Okay, what platforms usually you have?
So my biggest one is TikTok. I just hit 2.1 million on TikTok. And
Wow,
then
that's a big.
yeah, just a lot of people that have heard my story, back my message, and support what I do. So, and then I do Instagram, and I should be more consistent on my podcast, but I am not. So, but we're working on it right now.
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to it. You said that you committed suicide at the same time of your brother.
Yeah, so I had attempted.
At what age?
I was 17. He was 22. So,
Okay.
yeah, I attempted one night, and then I woke up the next day. And then just got news he had attempted suicide. So that was when I was like dedicating my life to just like proving basically to other people that it was possible to make it out of your mental health and use your mental health to your advantage. And now I post videos every day on TikTok on like the techniques that I used and the ways that I used my mind and catered it to working harder. So now I'm actually writing a book right now that teaches people how to do what I did.
Okay. I know it's a little bit hard for you to talk about these things actually. I want to know what was the reason, at what age your depression started?
So I started noticing that I was kind of a different kid. I just like functioned differently at like the age of 7-ish. So that was when my first like the suicidal thoughts started kind of creeping in. I had a very abusive dad. He was addicted to drugs. And then like it just wasn't a part of my life. So I just started like thinking about like death, and then I started obsessing over it as I got into like my teen years. So then I was just like the depressed kid that was just walking around all the time, just like pissed off at life. And I was in the victim mentality basically. So until I decided I wanted to be better, I didn't get better.
Sorry to hear that. About the family, what about your mom?
My mom was really good. Me and her can't live together but me and her have an amazing relationship now. But she didn't know how to handle me, and I don't blame her because no one did. I was like either attempting suicide or getting in fights as teenagers or as a teenager, and she did the best that she could.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City. Okay. And your mom and dad were married and in the same household during the time at age 7 that you started getting those thoughts?
No. So they got divorced, I think, when I was 4 or 5. And then my dad, 2 weeks after the divorce was final, got married to his secretary. They moved into a big house, had a lot of money, used the money to their advantage with like me and my brother. And then my dad just got back on drugs. So he kind of lost everything.
Okay. And what age your brother started drug?
My brother didn't do drugs.
You started drug.
No, my dad did drugs.
Your dad. Okay. So you're not a user at all
No.
during that time?
No.
Just the suicidal thoughts?
Yep, just suicidal.
And what about your mother? Did she do anything for you during the time? She was aware of the suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, she knew that there was something going on. I was just a very aggressive teenager. So it was like I was getting in trouble all the time. I was like just in trouble in school. I dealt with a lot of people in school that would like send me, everyone knew that I was suicidal. And so I would either go away for 2 weeks and I would come back and people would say like, oh, she got pregnant, that's why she was gone. Or like I was filming YouTube
during
videos.
the high school or middle school?
Middle school. So I was like, I think in like 7th grade. They would send me like the train schedule so I could jump in front of a train, just like bad stuff like that all the time. So
bullying by the kids at the school?
Yeah, which I was also a teenager.
How they knew about your suicidal thoughts? You were communicating that to them, or your?
I mean, it was just pretty obvious. Like everyone kind of knew. I was very open about it. I've always been super open about the fact that like my mental health and like kind of where I've been. But in that time, I think I used it more of like leverage to get people to feel bad for me. So it was all very real, but I was just open about it, and I was like, you guys aren't going to see me. Like it wasn't about if I was going to kill myself, but it was about when.
What about the family? They never got help for you at the age 7 or all the way to the time that you committed suicide at age 17, you said, yeah.
So I had multiple attempts throughout like that time. So it was like it was just like all the time I was attempting. Or if I wasn't attempting, I was thinking about every single possible way that I could and just trying to pull myself out of
When
it.
was the first time that you attempted?
I think the first like serious time was when I was 12.
And what did you do?
So I tend to not talk about like the ways to
The
do
ways
it
and
because
thing,
I don't
yeah,
like to
okay.
contribute to like ideas and things. But yeah, it was just there wasn't like solidified ways, or I would attempt and then I would back out like
And
halfway
what
through.
was the triggering point for you that to say that I'm fed up, I have to do it right now?
So
The
I'm
first time that you did it.
honestly, I don't remember, but I've always been the type of person where it's not something big that happens that causes me to do it. I'm just impulsive. So if I'm like alone with my thoughts for too long and I think about it too long, then I'm like, okay, I have to do it right now. So it's not even anything that like big happens or anything. It's just my thoughts that if I run with them for too long, then it causes
And
me to want to.
the underlying cause was depression.
I would say so. I'm diagnosed with depression, anxiety, ADHD, ODD, and bipolar.
Wow. Okay. So, and you were under supervision of the psychologist or anyone during that
Um,
time?
I had gone through different therapists throughout like my whole teenage years. I think I had gone through like 5 different therapists, but I only went because my mom forced me to. So
What about the school? They never help you?
no, school was like way worse. So they every time I would go in, I would talk to them or I would tell them what was kind of going on. They would just like give me a candy bar during lunch and just be like, "Okay, well, we can't really do anything." But I was getting in fights all the time, so they knew I
Really?
was an aggressive teenager. I was getting in trouble all the time, but
It means that
yeah,
they
they
never
didn't do
cared.
anything. And then I ended up needing to move schools because it just got really bad. So I moved schools, and then I did really good that year, and then all my friends got into drugs, and I wouldn't do it, so I just stopped going. So
So no drug issues, just the depression and the mental
yeah,
condition.
yep.
That's interesting. What about your brother?
Which the attempted suicide?
Yeah.
No, nothing. Just depressed. It was just like an impulsive thing with him, I think too. I hadn't talked to him for a minute before he attempted, so I didn't really know what his mental state was at the moment, but obviously it wasn't great.
That's interesting and sad at the same time. How you are helping the people that are in the same situation, especially the teenagers and the minors under between age 7 and 18.
Yeah, so I have spoken to junior highs, high schools, just kind of told my story, but also I figured where are majority of those people spending their time, social media. So that's where I wanted to push my message all the time, was just like consistently post on. And I've always been super open about it and just wanted to talk about it and be able to like not have it be a shameful thing for people and just to show people that it's possible to like, although this is something that will always affect me, it's always going to be a part of my life, I can still pull bits and pieces and learn from every single scenario that I'm in and use it to my advantage to become a better person.
What was the last thing that you posted and what was that about? What was the message?
I just posted right before I came here. I think the message was just like being or not. I give a lot of relationship advice too. So like how to communicate better in relationships and just using like to go easier on people, being understanding with things. And like if you are having like an off week, like if they're acting good 85% of the time, maybe they're going through something and it's okay to ask them like, if you're going through something, let me be there for you. Because I feel like people tend to act out of character sometimes when they're like going through their own things, and it's not necessarily have to doing with like other people or anything. It's just like you don't even notice when you're kind of in your head.
Any of these viewers or the TikTok followers, have you ever reached you to say, hey, I feel the same, what should I do, or seeking something, some help?
I get messages every day, just like people saying that I saved their life in some way, or that like certain things they never thought about.
What age they are usually?
My age range is mainly from 15 to 45. That's like where my medium. So I have a really big age range.
And what's the cause you saying that among the teenagers between 15 and 18 in high school is, what's the reason that they feel that way? Is it mental issues or is it bullying? Because they open up to you sometimes, yes.
Yes, I would say it's more relationships. Just like not knowing how to navigate relationships yet and maybe jumping into them too early. And it's just feelings. Like they just don't know how to manage their feelings. And majority of it, I think, honestly, comes from social media. I think social media is really toxic to teenagers.
In what way?
Because you can hide behind things. So then it's like you walk through, because social media started becoming like a really big thing when I was in high school. And I was trying to do it for so long. So I was filming YouTube videos in my room when I was 12, and I consistently did this for 10 years before it actually like became a job. So, but I would walk through class and like have people making fun of my YouTube videos right next to me and just like saying things. But I would also get comments from people where they would make fake accounts of me and like just to hate on me. And I was walking through classrooms not knowing who was doing it. So I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. So it was like I was completely alone, isolated. And then it's like I'm already going through things, but people can hide behind who they really are. So you walk through your whole school not knowing who is talking shit on you like right then.
You mean that the bully is not the direct way right now? They do it by creating a fake accounts
Yeah.
or commenting under the anonymous name
Mm-hmm.
to try to trash whatever that you're posting,
Yeah.
actually, or bullying you.
Yeah.
That's a
But
toxic
you can
way.
hide.
You can hide, and no one knows who is that,
Yeah.
really.
And so you never know
And
who
you
to
feel
trust.
the pressure when you go to the school. You don't know who is that is talking shit. Possibly someone who doesn't have the
You just know it's someone.
courage to talk with you or tell
Yeah.
you in your face, actually, because they
Yep.
know there's a consequences for it.
Yep. And so that's why I acted the way that I did, because I was aggressive. But mine was like extreme. So mine was to the point where if I saw like someone looking at me wrong, I didn't ask questions. I just went and
How you were
Yeah.
reacting to those comments, or
I reacted to every single one. Every hate comment I got, I made a video about it. I blew up. Yeah. And it was until I realized like that was what my problem was. The next week, that's when I blew up on TikTok. Was when I realized like I can't go after every hate comment. It doesn't matter. It's not like that big of a deal. Like someone's just saying things. So
the TikTok that you are having, it has been going on since your teenage age, yes?
TikTok, I was doing more YouTube and like Instagram from my teenage years, and then I started TikTok during COVID. So that's when I grew the most, was during COVID.
That's interesting. And what's the message for the teenagers, mostly?
I would just say that like your feelings are valid, but it doesn't matter that much. And I know that, but that's the thing, is like teenagers hear that all the time. But it's just learning how to communicate and learning how to like understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling and find a deeper meaning within it, and just knowing that like you will understand why things happen later. Because like the thing is if I did attempt suicide any of those times that I had tried and I actually did die, I didn't know, like I would have never experienced true happiness. And I also wouldn't have been able to grow a platform of like millions of people that I'm like helping and doing, like I wouldn't even have a purpose. I didn't get to my purpose yet before I had tried. So I just needed to wait a little bit longer, and I did need to be pushed to the point where it was like I didn't have another option in order to see that purpose.
You mean that the pressure at the school and on social media can cause people to commit suicide to some extent?
For sure. I think so.
And you're trying to reverse it by being actually a person who went through it.
Yeah.
Actually, to tell them how to deal with the situation
Yeah.
if there's a peer pressure on the social media. Is that correct?
But I also like to go to the root, because it's different than that. I'm trying to teach people not to be in a victim mentality. So it's going deeper to the root. So it's like, even if people say the worst things about you, even if like everyone in the room hates you, you can still find a way to like love yourself through that, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get through life.
Give me an example of it.
So like, if you're in a room full of people who are mean to you, if you are confident enough in yourself and you have learned the skills on like how to take accountability in you and like understand why things are happening for you, not to you, and you're able to just know that like there's a deeper meaning, you're secure in yourself and you've worked on yourself enough to the point where you can just like stand true in who you are fully, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says, you are unstoppable. Like nothing will get to you at that point. So that's what I'm trying to teach.
That's interesting. And the media that you are using is the YouTube and the TikTok for now. Yes. Do you have any podcasts?
Yeah, I have a podcast called The Illest Minds. It's a mental health podcast.
Okay. And do you go to the junior high school actually and high schools to talk to people or not?
Yes, I have talked at middle schools, high schools, and rehabs. So.
And you do it through the agency, or they invite you? How it works usually?
Just through social media. They find me through social media.
And they invite you to go over and do a promotion.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's usually a teacher
Motivational.
or someone that like sends a message for me and then gets me in there.
Okay. What about the teenagers in Vegas? How many because you get the message from everywhere, yes? Possibly. The issues possibly is different. Have you ever tried to analyze it, see the issues in Vegas is like this, and it's different from California, it's different from the other places, or Utah, for example, that is more conservative?
Yeah.
State.
So that's the thing too is so Utah, I feel like the biggest problem there is the religion. So it's like even the kids who are in this religion, they feel the need to have to be perfect all the time. So I'll cater what I talk about differently there than I would for say like Vegas, where like here it's not religion mainly that's like the problem. It's drugs, parents. It's just a different form. You just cater to different people to suit what you're trying to get across, what they're struggling with.
Was there any drug issues among the children in Utah at that time?
No,
Less drug issues.
less drug issues for sure. It was more, I feel like self-identity. Like they didn't know who they were. They knew who they were supposed to be from their parents, but they couldn't identify who they actually wanted to be.
And you were raised as Mormon?
I wasn't, no, but everyone that I was around was.
Okay, that's interesting. And your dad left you guys at the age of 7, yes?
About there, yeah.
How it affected you?
I think that I gained a lot of abandonment issues from that and just like not knowing who to trust because he was my best friend as a kid. And then like all of a sudden it was like he's on drugs. He's a completely different person. He's mean aggressive. He is a narcissist. I feel like that word gets thrown around on the internet so much that I don't like to use it. But he's like an actual narcissist where he will not be wrong. He will fight you on anything. He has like a God complex. He carries around like a magic wand and thinks that he's like, yeah, like he's lost it. He has no teeth. He weighs less than I do. Like he's not doing too hot. So
What he was doing, actually? What was his job?
his drug of choice I think is meth. So, but he I think does all of it.
Wow. What was his job, actually?
So he owned a business.
And he was a good dad before the getting on the drugs.
When he's not on drugs, he is the smartest human being I've ever met. Like so smart, can make 10 grand in a day if he wants to. And so I learned those skills from him, luckily, where like the only thing I'm really good at is like knowing little ways to make money easy and fast. So, but he's the smartest person in the world when he's not on drugs. But when
And
he is,
what age you were that he has started using drugs and changing behavior?
so he did it before I was born. I know that. And then I think he started back up again when I was like 5, maybe.
And you could see as a child, 5 years old, that
Yeah, drastic
there's
change.
a change.
Yeah, he went from like making millions of dollars a year to like not having anything, like nothing. So,
And how you reconciled it actually with the fact that he moved out and you were alone? You know, how it affected you. I want to see that mental.
I don't know. I think it was because he would tell us all the time. He would call us. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come get you." So me and my
But
brother.
they never showed up to pick you up.
Yeah, never showed up. So we would be sitting out on the porch for like 4 hours, and then my mom would finally have to come out and be like, "Let's make cookies or something. Like, let's do something else." And so then we would just like, we were always waiting for something that was never gonna come. So then we finally just got to the point where we were like,
You were
"Okay, we're
eager
done."
to hang out with him or
Yeah,
not?
at first, and then after we just started brushing it off. So it was like even when he did put in the effort, we were like, we just don't care.
You gave up
Yeah,
on him,
yeah.
like your mom. Okay. That's interesting. What about the other issues in life? Anything that triggered you?
Not necessarily. It's just my brain. It's just the way my brain works. And I think the majority of the reason why I was depressed is because I lived in a victim mentality. Because I'm the type of person I love to see progression in my life. So if I'm not progressing in some sort of way, that's why, like, even mentally, it's like that is a big part of my life. So every conversation that I have, everything that I do, I'm trying to progress or learn from something so that I can take that information and better myself later.
Was there any time that you thought that you have to do you committed suicide and you changed actually your mind last minute? Yes. And what was
All the
it?
time. All the time.
What was the thing that caused you to change your mind? Say, no, I should not do it. Okay, let's not do it.
Because I had moments where I was attempting and then I would like pull back and then the next day it was like a really good day. So I was always just looking forward to that. Or like I used to attempt with music on all the time. So there was this one time I was attempting and I actually have it tattooed. The song name is Medicine. And so it just changed my whole perspective. And then for like 6 months I hadn't attempted like anything. I was like doing okay. And then I just fell right back into it. But it was all my own fault. And that's the thing is I feel like a lot of people like to say like you're victim blaming or you're not like catering to people's feelings or your feelings are valid. But like sometimes it's not. Like sometimes you're doing it to yourself. Like you're the one. That's how I was, is like I was making myself depressed. If I would have just snapped out of it and was like, I need to treat myself better, I need to act better, I would have been better. And so the day that I decided to do that. I took 6 months, sacrificed everything, kicked people out of my life, stopped and just sat down, took a notebook, and was writing out every bad thing I did, why I was feeling the way that I was, why I was doing these things, what it stemmed from my childhood, how it resonated in my like adulthood, and just like analyzed my whole life, so then I could pull pieces. So now I know the ins and outs of my brain and my life and how it led me to where I am now.
How talking to the therapist was helpful?
No, but I wasn't giving any effort into it. I would show up and just say words, but I wasn't looking for help at that point.
That's typical for that kind of diagnosis, bipolar or something, that they don't want to get the help.
I don't know if it's true for everyone. That's just how I was, but they had given me ADHD tests and they tested me on everything. And I don't remember how like they scaled it down to like numbers, but with all the tests that I did, I remember being in a room, I was taking an ADHD test and I had to walk out 3 times and I was like crying because I like couldn't handle it. My brain was like, nope. It just was really overwhelming. And so they had like boiled it down to like numbers, and at a 40, you're supposed to be medicated. And I was unmedicated at this point. And then at a 90, you're supposed to be in the hospital. 5150 because you're a danger to yourself or others, and I scored 111 and I wasn't even medicated. So they were like, okay, you need to be medicated. So then they put me on medication. Then the medication made me feel like a zombie. So then they tried a million different medications and nothing worked. So it was like I was the lost cause, kind of. So
That's hard.
yeah.
That's a struggle. Yeah. Thank you for coming to the show. And
course.
do you have anything to add at the very end?
Not necessarily. I just feel like I talked about myself the whole time.
Thank you for coming on the
Yes,
show.
of course.
And
Thanks for
good
having
luck
me.
on your podcast and also helping people.
Of course. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good day.